This is the iPhone 13 mini. The size of smartphones themselves has been on the rise in recent years, but companies like Apple like to believe there's still a market for smaller phones, and not just any smaller phones, but flagship ones. I'm Ricky for GSM Arena, and this is our review of the iPhone 13 mini. The iPhone 13 mini is identical to the iPhone 12 mini. It's practically equal in the size, and most of the design is the same. Of course, there are some changes. You will see that the cameras are now aligned in diagonal instead of vertically, and the size of the notch in the front has been slightly reduced. It might be ironic to say that this little guy is heavier and thicker, but it is compared to the 12 mini. That's because of the larger battery, so cases for the 12 mini might not fit well. It's still very comfortable to use. Since it's so small, one-handed use feels natural and easy. Not only that, but the aluminum frame with brushed paint is nicely grippy, and although fingerprints do stick around, they aren't too visible. This is the best user experience you'll have on such a compact display, and if you're a fan of small phones, you'll definitely enjoy using it. It's also one of the most durable phones on the market, as various drop tests have already proven. It has a ceramic shield on the front, an aluminum frame in the middle, and it has a Corning-made rear panel. The Mini will have no issues at the beach or hanging by the pool. It has an IP68 dust and water resistance rating, and Apple went above and beyond the requirements for it. The Mini can handle 30 minutes under 60 meters of water. The 13 mini has a 5.4-inch Super Retina XDR display. The OLED screen supports HDR10, Dolby Vision, and its bezels are as thin as the iPhone 12 minis, but with a narrower notch. Unlike its bigger Pro siblings, the 13 mini's refresh rate stays at 60 Hz, but it does have a touch sampling rate of 120 Hz. The screen itself is great. The Mini measured an excellent 831 nits of max brightness, and with a pixel density of 476 ppi, it has the sharpest screen on this year's iPhone lineup. It also sports Apple's True Tone technology and has excellent color accuracy. The 13 mini has stereo speakers. There's a single bottom-firing one, and the earpiece doubles as a loudspeaker as well. On our audio test, it had very good loudness. Audio quality was impressive too, and we can hear some bass, good mids, and pleasant highs. You definitely won't be disappointed, as it has one of the best speaker setups on the market right now. The 2,438 mAh battery seems tiny by today's standards, but it's a 10% increase over last year. It received a 75-hour endurance rating on our battery life tests, which isn't bad for such a small phone. That's actually a 6-hour improvement over last year's Mini. The 13 mini doesn't ship with a charge adapter, but if you use Apple's 20-watt charger, it gets the phone from 0 to 61% in half an hour, and a full charge took an hour and 24 minutes. Like the rest of Apple's iPhone 13 lineup, the Mini has the A15 Bionic chip. Where it differs is that it has 4GB of RAM instead of the 6GB on the Pro models. This is the fastest mobile chipset to date, and it's way ahead of the Android competition. You'll definitely have plenty of power for years to come. What's more is that the thermals worked well, and the phone never got too hot to handle. It allowed the CPU to keep 74% of its max performance with sustained use, while the GPU throttled to 64% of its max performance after 20 minutes at full power. The iPhone 13 mini comes preloaded with iOS 15 out of the box. One of the more noteworthy improvements arrived with notifications management. Now you have focus profiles that determine when you receive certain notifications, so you get what you need whether you're in work mode or if you're playing games. FaceTime and Safari have also gotten significant upgrades, and the UI has newer design elements that are now rounder than before. Of course, there's much more than that. Since the software is identical across all of Apple's flagships, we've gone much more in depth about it in our iPhone 13 video, and we've linked it down below. The 13 mini sports a 12 megapixel main camera with a bigger sensor than last year, and sensor shift stabilization, along with a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera with fixed focus. These are the same ones you'll find on the iPhone 13, so everything we said in that review still applies. During the day, the main camera shoots excellent photos. They're sharp with a lot of detail, great contrast, and low noise. The dynamic range is praiseworthy too, but the way this camera renders foliage is not our favorite. The ultra-wide camera shoots some of the widest photos we've seen. The details were okay, contrast was great, noise was low, and colors were very accurate. The dynamic range is well balanced here too. Again, we weren't impressed by how it handles foliage, and there's no autofocus here like on the iPhone Pro models. Night mode is triggered automatically in lower light. Photos from the main camera looked really nice, exposure was balanced, contrast was great, and color saturation was superb. Detail and sharpness were outstanding as well. The ultra-wide camera also supports the auto night mode. Shots here were okay, while exposure, contrast, and colors looked good. Still, the images were soft and quite noisy, and we can only really recommend them for social media. Apple's selfie camera has two field of view modes, a 12 megapixel wide one and a slightly zoomed 7 megapixel crop. The 12 megapixel selfies are fantastic, with an excellent amount of detail, contrast, and dynamic range. Here as well, the colors are very accurate. Noise was handled well, even when shooting in less than ideal light conditions. The iPhone can record up to 4K video at 60 frames per second with both cameras. All videos are digitally stabilized, and they all feature expanded dynamic range thanks to Smart HDR. iPhones usually have excellent video quality, and naturally, the iPhone 13 mini can capture some of the best video in the mobile business. During the day, footage is great, dynamic range is wide, and colors are lively. The ultra-wide is just as good, and it captures some of the best footage we've seen from an ultra-wide so far. There's great parity with the main camera as far as color, exposure, and dynamic range are concerned. Detail is great too. There's a new cinematic mode which acts like a portrait mode for videos by blurring the background behind your subject. It's currently the best implementation of this feature yet, but it's far from great, especially with edge detection. The iPhone 13 mini isn't a huge jump from the 12, and the annoying notch, while smaller, is still around. The screen still doesn't have a high refresh rate, and the ultra-wide is only fixed focus. Other than that, it has a beautiful, durable, and lightweight design, and it has the same excellent speakers, top-notch camera quality, and powerful chipset as its siblings. Simply put, if you're looking for a compact flagship, this is the best one on the market, and we highly recommend it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.